Today we're just going to have a little bit of discussion around nutrition. So we're going to cover the role of fats, carbohydrates and proteins, the role of accountability and goal setting with responsible eating, the importance of fluid intake and what that intake of fluid you need to have, the glycemic index and good sources of fat, protein and carbohydrates, as well as discussing how it is important to have healthy eating in your lifestyle. So firstly, we'll start with the role of fats. Everyone needs to include fat in their diet as it helps the body to maintain its core temperature, absorb nutrients and provides us with energy just for daily living. Although we need to consume fat every day in order for our body to support these functions, it is important to keep in mind that certain fats are good while others are not, and we'll cover what are good fats and what aren't good fats in a minute. Good fats work to keep our bodies healthy and protect our hearts, but bad fats can do the complete opposite, so damaging your heart and increasing the risk of disease as you get older. While carbohydrates are the main source of fuel in your body, your system turns to fat as it backs up energy as an energy source when carbohydrates are not available. So fat is a concentrated source of energy. Some types of vitamins we rely on for fat absorption, which are vitamins A, D, E and K, and they're fat-soluble vitamins. They cannot function without adequate daily fat intake. These vitamins are essential parts of our daily diet. So vitamin A covers the health of eyes and promotes good vision. Vitamin D assists in bone structure and that kind of thing, and boosting calcium absorption, which is really important in exercise. Vitamin E protects cells by neutralizing free radicals, and vitamin K is important for blood clotting, minimizing blood clotting. If you don't meet your daily fat intake or follow a low-fat diet, these vitamins may be impaired to the functioning of your body. Okay. The role of carbohydrates is to provide energy, as I said before, as they are the main body source of fuel, definitely needed for physical activity, brain function and the operation of our vital organs. All the cells and tissues in the body need carbs, and they are also important for intestinal health and waste elimination. Once in the body, the carbohydrates are easily converted to fuel. So now I'm going to discuss how that happens. The digestive system changes carbohydrates into glucose, also known as blood sugar, so like your blood sugar levels. Okay. Some glucose is used for energy and the rest is stored in the liver and muscles for later use. As your blood sugar rises, your pancreas pumps out more and more insulin, a hormone that tells cells to absorb glucose for energy or storage. As cells absorb the glucose, blood sugar levels begin to fall, which signals the pancreas to start making glycogen, a hormone that tells the liver to release stored glucose, which is pretty amazing that our body can do that.
Yeah.
The types of carbohydrates, there's two, which is the carbohydrates are simple and complex. Simple carbohydrates are also called simple sugars. So they include your fruits, veggies and milk, as well as sugars added during food processing. Complex carbs are also known as like your starches, so whole grain breads and cereals, starchy veggies, and like your seeds and nuts and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Most complex carbs contain fiber, which helps digestive health and increases fullness, reducing overeating and weight gain, which is really important in healthy eating.
Yeah.
Now we're going to discuss the role of proteins. So the structure of proteins consists of single chain less than 100 amino acids up to a complex structure of several chains with hundreds of folds and three-dimensional shape. These larger proteins are called structural proteins, provide structure and shape the cells, organs and connective tissue. These proteins are so massive and so important because they actually are a role in a lot of things. So I'm just going to discuss that as well.
Yeah.
Antibodies, another protein, help your body fight infection. For each antigen that enters your body, you have a separate and distinct antibody to fight it. So antibodies stop the antigens from moving until white blood cells can destroy them. Your body performs thousands of biochemical reactions a day to function properly. These reactions require energy, and many have significantly high energy thresholds that can delay essential reactions. Proteins called enzymes assist in the lowering of the activation energy of hundreds of reactions, helping them to proceed thousands of times faster than they would in a normal environment. So also the hormones are proteins that send signals and coordinate activities throughout the body. So examples include insulin, which facilitates glucose, controls blood glucose levels, thyroid, regulates the metabolism, body temperature, that kind of thing. Your body can use protein for its energy when carbohydrates are depleted. When needed, proteins degrade into their component amino acids, as we just kind of mentioned briefly before, which are then oxidized to the same process as glucose to create energy. Now, I'm just going to discuss a little bit about the role of accountability and goal setting with responsible eating. Okay, so I've come up with a few different tips of how you can do some really good goal setting for a healthy weight. So to create goals is probably the most efficient way to lose and maintain your weight, depending on what you want to do. So your goals need to be really detailed. So what I'd suggest is to write down the details of exactly what you need, what would you want to accomplish, where, when, why, how, and set the basis for your tracking of your progress. They need to be measurable. So think both long-term and short-term. Set weekly and monthly goals to keep yourself on track so you can just know where you're at. Attainable, so consider your expectations and personal situation. It's great to aim high, but don't set yourself up to fail. So it's unrealistic to go, okay, so I want to lose, 10% of my body fat in 2 weeks. That's just not possible.
Yeah.
They need to be relevant. So how this change is going to be important to you right now in your life, and the timing. So choose a definite time and a finish date to hold yourself to.
Okay.
So also setbacks will happen. You often, have a gathering that you want to go to, and maybe there won't be great eating choices there, but that's okay. That's fine because, you still need to live.
Yeah.
So there's a few small steps to a healthier lifestyle. So successful weight loss requires a healthy diet, regular exercise, and behavior change. And that's behavior change mentally as well. Even though this sounds very overwhelming, it doesn't have to be. So the key is making small changes that become a lifestyle. So eat more fruits and veggies, something that's going to fill you up and provide nutrients to your body. Portion sizes is a massive thing as well. So we don't want you to decrease your portion size that you're still hungry after every meal, but maybe assessing, okay, so how much of this rice should I really have? Not, half a bowl and then a bit of meat, maybe more meat and, a little bit of rice, that kind of thing.
Yep.
The behaviour change, so maybe at home, keep tempting food out of the house, like your bickies, your sweets, that kind of thing, because I know for me, if they're in the house, they're very tempting to eat. At work, don't eat at your desk. Have healthy snacks and try and drink as much water, because often you might feel hungry because you're dehydrated, not necessarily that you actually are hungry.
Okay.
Try and get up and walk around if you're sitting in a day job at the desk. And at the table, find maybe, instead of having a smorgasbord of food, maybe dish up your meal, and so you don't have, I'll go back to seconds, or I'll have a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
So that won't be overeating. And wait at least 20 minutes until you go back for another portion.
Okay.
So if you want to self-monitor yourself, that involves observing and recording what you eat and when you exercise throughout the week. And this just helps you become more aware of your behaviours, and it keeps you on track of weight loss success. So regular weighing is a really good one. Food logs as well, so like a food diary of what you've eaten that day. And exercise as well, so how much you've exercised, if it's resistance training, if it's cardio, if it's Pilates or a class, that kind of thing. Okay, so the next thing we're going to discuss is the importance of fluid intake and what you should be drinking. So water makes up about 2/3 of weight of a healthy body, most of the chemical reactions that happen in our body needs water for that to take place. We also need water so that our blood can carry nutrients and for the body to get rid of waste.
Okay.
Your body uses water in its cells, organs and tissues to help regulate its temperature and maintain other bodily functions. Because your body loses water through breathing, sweating and digestion, it's important to rehydrate by drinking fluids and eating foods that contain water. Water is by far the most important nutrient of the human body. Next to oxygen, the human body needs in water to survive. 2/3 of the human body is water, as I said. Therefore, it's important to take as much water as we can. So water, in exercise, water consumption helps with the protection of movement of joints and other organs and tissues in the body. In between the joints, there is a lining of cartilage that exists. The lining of cartilage between the joints uses water as it's a cushioning between the bones, and so the joints can move easily. So that's really important in exercise. If there's not enough water being consumed, dehydration can occur to these joints, which may cause arthritis in the near future.
Okay.
Therefore, it's important to drink enough water to supply the protection that it needs for the joints. Daily water consumption can aid in protecting the gastrointestinal lining of your body, as well as various organs and tissues.
Great.
Okay, so now we're just going to talk about the glycemic index. This is also known as blood glucose levels, that kind of thing. So the body breaks down most carbohydrates from foods that we eat and converts them to the type of sugar called glucose, as you're probably familiar with what we've discussed previously. Glucose is the main source of the fuel for our cells. After eating, the time it takes for the body to convert carbohydrates and release glucose into the bloodstream varies depending on the type of carbohydrate that we've eaten and the food that it contains it in. Some carbohydrate-containing foods cause blood glucose levels to rise rapidly. Others have a gradual effect. The glycemic index measures how fast and how much a food raises blood glucose levels. Foods with higher index values raise blood sugar more rapidly than foods with a lower glycemic index, obviously. The GI can be used as a consideration when selecting foods and drinks. So consistent with the Australian Guide to Healthy Eating, as long as you're aware of these limitations, you'll be okay. So for example, the GI of some everyday foods such as fruits, veggies and cereals can be higher than foods with foods like biscuits and cakes. This does not mean that we should replace fruit and veggies and cereals. It just needs to be that we need to be quite educated on the choices of what we're actually eating. So for example, instead of having, like Cocoa Pops for, breakfast, let's try and change that with some oats or, cereal that's whole grains, that kind of thing. It's not always possible or necessary to choose all GI foods. There is room in a healthy diet for moderate to high GI foods, but this is in moderation, obviously. So some tips for healthy eating. Use breakfast cereal based on oats, obviously, as we've just kind of discussed. Have a range of fruit and veggies in your diet, plenty of salad. If you want a dressing, maybe use like vinegar, that kind of thing, not something that's high in sugar like sweet chili sauce, that kind of thing. Eat a variety of carbohydrate-containing foods. If the main source of carbohydrates in your diet is bread and potatoes, try lentils or pasta, like wholemeal pasta, wholemeal rice, and pita breads or mountain bread, not roti bread, sorry. And focus more on serving size of foods rather than just their GI rating. Now, do you have any questions?
No, that was really good.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you, Iz.